Welcome to another edition of I Got More. I'm here today with NBC Sports Bay Area's Grant Liffmann. We're here to chop it up about the Warriors. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me on.
Yes, and well, the draft lottery is over with. We got the number 2 pick. What do you think the Warriors should do?
Ooh, that is a tough question. Well, I can tell you first of all that they're going to be trying to trade the pick. That's their first inclination. They have a team that's built to win now, right? And their window, it's everyone likes to talk about the window as if it's closing immediately. These guys actually have more run than that people are making it out to be. Steph Curry and Klay Thompson have more in their game. Draymond Green, we still don't know exactly what his arc is going to be. He's motivated. He's never been more motivated. So I think you can expect a big year from him. Andrew Wiggins is still young. So the point is that the Warriors definitely have a little bit of a wider window than people are giving them. But since they are starting to get older and they're ready to win now, you sometimes start thinking that how much can a number 2 pick help them next season, right? And at this point, you'd have to say that a trade for a veteran or somebody who's established right now and is mature in the game can help them win in this moment. But they have to pick the right person. And the first thing they're going to do is look at the big fish. They'll look at the superstars. Obviously, Giannis, his name is going to be out there. Embiid, Ben Simmons, the GM of the Sixers, Elton Brand, so far is saying that he wants to hold on to both of them. We don't know if that's real or not. But they're going to look at the big fish, Bradley Beal, etc. And they're going to see who's available. From there, they'll move down to the next level, And so they're going to try to do different packages. But at the end of the day, if they do decide to keep the pick, it's hard to decide who they can possibly go with. There is smoke signals being sent out. We truly do not know who the Warriors are really, really liking right now.
Let's just say if Elton Brand changes his mind or, there's nothing to it anyway, who should the Warriors pursue, Embiid or Simmons?
I keep on going back and forth. And I think a lot of it comes down to what's the demand for each. I think it depends on the trade package. If one is a lot more and requires a lot more coming back to the Sixers, then I would definitely lean towards the other guy, of course, because at this point, I think there's close enough that I do think there's the ability to get one for less. I take that guy. Well, the problem is that Joel Embiid is perfect for the Golden State Warriors. It's absolutely perfect. He's the exact guy that the Warriors have always wanted. They can't get him because he's an absolute star. And the Warriors have had good, serviceable centers, but they're not scorers. They're not these all defensive players. Embiid is both. The only issue with Embiid is injury history. And that is something that the Warriors should definitely be concerned about if you're giving away, if you're leveraging your whole future for him. Depends on what you're giving. If you're giving too much and you get somebody that gets hurt, your championship window is really tight at that point. Ben Simmons, on the other hand, obviously he's hurt right now, so that doesn't help anything. But Ben Simmons plays, imagine a Draymond Green that's 6'10" and has more of a scoring ability. He's an absolute monster defensively. Ben Simmons can cover anyone from a point guard all the way to a center. He is just I just love Ben Simmons' game. Obviously, the big catch with Ben Simmons is his shooting ability or just his willingness to shoot. The guy's just not willing to take anything from a mid-range to a 3. Apparently, his shot isn't that bad. I've seen him shoot. His form isn't that bad. But my goodness, he is not willing to shoot right now. So if he can somehow get that going, the guy can be an absolute superstar in the league. He just needs to get it together when it comes to his shooting ability because let's just say this, Jannelle. Let's say Draymond Green stays on the team. If they keep if they're able to keep that core together, the Steph, Klay, Draymond, plus add one of those guys, Ben Simmons and Draymond Green together out there, that would clog the lane. It would be a tight lane because the defenses would sag off of both of them, stay in the lane, and it'd make things a little more difficult. So Steve Kerr would have to get creative in that situation. But I can promise you Steve Kerr would love to be in a situation where he has to be creative because that means that he has Ben Simmons on his team.
Yes, but with his willingness to shoot and with Draymond and Ben's skill set, how could Kerr possibly make them mesh? I mean, Ben isn't willing to shoot for whatever reason. Draymond struggles with his shot. How could you see Kerr getting him to mesh if they were to get Simmons?
Yeah, so, first we got to look defensively, and that is a match made in heaven. I mean, also Embiid, Draymond and Embiid. And Draymond and anyone who's a good defender technically is a match made in heaven. But the fact is, if you had Simmons and Draymond together, the switchability, the ability to play off the ball and help, these two would be an absolute dream together. And small ball lineup, when the Warriors like to go late in a game, those two defensively, it would just – and then you add Klay Thompson to that, unbelievable defensive lineup right there. It would be very hard for teams to score on the Warriors. So that's the good news chemistry-wise on the defensive end. On offense, what you'd really have to do is, you'd have to make sure that Draymond could actually hit a three, and that right now we don't know exactly where he can go with that. But if you're not, what you need to do probably is play Steph and Klay off the ball as much as possible, because then you have the ball handler like a Draymond Green or a Ben Simmons able to bring a defender out potentially, because if he then attacks the hoop, then it sucks in all the defenders, and then Steph and Klay are playing off of them. The problem is that if you have Steph Curry with the ball in his hands and someone like Draymond Green sets a high ball screen, what'll happen is they can all hedge and they can clog the middle so that his defender can stay out on Steph. So Steph's not getting a wide open three because they can throw a double at him. They'll make sure they're staying on Klay, and all of a sudden, maybe they're letting Ben Simmons stay open in the corner because it doesn't matter. So probably the best case scenario would be you give Ben Simmons the ball in the post, let him work down there. Hopefully a double comes. You have Draymond Green slicing to the rim. You have the other guys setting up outside. So there's different ways they can play around with it. But at the end of the day, also remember, they can just stagger the two as much as possible. The death lineup, that's a different thing at the very end of the game. You can stagger them. You have their minutes not overlap for maybe 10 to 15 minutes a game, and that helps as well.
That might be the best bet. You almost convinced me that the Warriors should roll with Simmons, because I was in the mindset of Embiid, since, the Warriors don't have a impactful, have never had an impactful center like that. And it just seems like it'll be a better fit cohesively. But you're convincing me that Simmons might be it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a toss-up. At the end of the day, Joel Embiid has the size and the skill to be the better player than Ben Simmons. It's just a fact. If Joel Embiid is at his best and healthy, he actually has top 5, talent. He's unbelievable. He's gigantic, incredible defender. He can shoot the three. He can do everything. Great passer out of the block. He does it all. So at the end of the day, if the Warriors really could acquire Joel Embiid and somehow put Steph, Klay, Draymond, Embiid together, that is just an absolute killer lineup. That is just ridiculous. But Ben Simmons, on the other hand, is a huge if, and this is the biggest if about Ben Simmons' whole career. If he could shoot a three, he's also a top 5 talent. But the problem is Embiid already has it now. Simmons is like a pipe dream. Can he be that guy who can shoot a three? And we don't know if he'll ever be that guy.
I don't know if he'll ever be that guy either, but even with at least a midi, he won't even shoot a midi.
Nope.
And and for the life of me, I don't know why. I don't know what the hang-up is. I mean, it's not like his form is jacked up. I could see if he was shooting with his butt out or whatnot, but I don't get it. And I guess that's just something that I will never understand. And, if he don't want to shoot a three, I mean, if he's more comfortable driving, so be it. But even if he drives, at least the defense has to honor that too.
It's true. I mean, he can finish over anybody. He's 6'10", incredibly athletic, very strong. Think about this. Think about how successful Ben Simmons has been in the league so far without a mid-range or without a three-pointer. So it's pretty incredible what he's done. The other thing, by the way, to note is if Draymond Green and Ben Simmons somehow were on the same team together, the amount of fast breaking, pushing the ball in transition that they would do, that ball, the minute they got a rebound or even inbound to play off a made shot, they would be sprinting down. You know, Draymond already likes to do that. He gets it, outlets it, gets it, runs as fast as he can down the lane.
Yeah.
They would say push, 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 push. Because if you have Simmons, Draymond running down that lane, and then you have Steph and Klay separating to put some spacing, they would be maybe one of the more lethal teams in the history of the game in transition, other than maybe the Kevin Durant Warriors.
All right. If the Warriors can't get either Simmons or Embiid and they end up with Bradley Beal, how would that mesh with Steph and with Klay?
You know, I've had to think about this one a lot, and it would come down to, in the end, what are you giving up for Beal? And to make salaries match, unfortunately, it'd probably have to be Wiggins and picks. That would have to be some, package based around Wiggins, because Draymond doesn't make enough money to do it, and Draymond there, it would be a tough deal. What would end up happening is the Warriors would probably have to win offensively, and they would be an incredible offense. That is for sure. You would have Bradley Beal play the 2, most likely, and probably put Klay Thompson as the 3 at that point. So you'd have Steph, Beal, Klay. And then you have Draymond, and then hopefully a big as well. It's not the ideal defensive lineup. It really isn't. But they would be so incredible offensively, because Bradley Beal's an incredible spot-up shooter, catch-and-shoot shooter. Obviously, Steph and Klay are as well. They would just be flinging the ball around. The amount of space they would create, one of those 3 guys would have an open shot. I mean, if you really think about it, when Kevin Durant would stay at the 3-point line, it's similar in that way. Obviously, Bradley Beal's not Kevin Durant once you get within the 3-point line, but Durant was an incredible shooter from out there. Beal's an incredible shooter from out there. But he's also just his ability to create is something that the Warriors have not had, other than, I mean, it's hard saying anybody, but like they had Kevin Durant, one of the best players in the history of the game. But this is just a different style of play that they'd get out of Beal. So I do think offensively they can make it work. And Jannelle, think about this. You take Steph and Klay out after the first quarter and you go, hey, Bradley Beal, go get yours in the start of the second too, and so you can stagger them that way. And then you close out a lineup with those guys. I think they could easily make it work. Is he ideal? No, because defensively they would be giving up a lot. But you know what? You're better automatically with him on the team. But here's my question to you. If you have to give up the 2nd pick overall, the Minnesota pick, Andrew Wiggins, and maybe Eric Pascal, would you be better off instead keeping those guys, hoping Andrew Wiggins turns into a great defensive wing that can also do all the things that he needs to do for Steph and Klay, and also score off the ball, maybe average 19, 20 points? Either trade that number 2 pick for somebody else with a TPE, use that other Minnesota pick for something else. You start adding it up at that way, and you go, maybe if they made the right moves, it would be just as good, if not better, than having Bradley Beal for all of that.
I agree. And I think when you put it that way about giving up the 2nd pick in this draft, Minnesota's pick in the next year's draft, which will have a better crop of players, plus Wiggins, I don't think it's worth it. I mean,
yeah.
If it was like Giannis or somebody like that, then yeah.
I mean, Giannis, you'd give away. Well, here's my question to you, Jannelle. Do you give away Klay Thompson in a trade for Giannis?
Oh, that is a tough one. No.
I mean, think about this. You're talking about the MVP back-to-back, a guy that immediately elevates your team to a championship level. He is the perfect complement to Steph Curry. There's never been somebody that probably can complement him more than Giannis. And he would be on your team for the next decade because he's so young still. And so you'd be taking that window and transferring it. I am a Klay Thompson believer. I love Klay Thompson. Like, Klay Thompson's my guy. But basketball sense, if you're just talking basketball and you're ignoring all the emotional connection and the ability that they play together and everything they've done, I would say 90% of GMs wouldn't even think twice. And they would say,
yeah.
Right? So that's where you just have to start thinking with emotions versus reality. If this is the problem, Warriors fans think they're like, okay, we'll just package Wiggins and 2 picks for Giannis.
But I keep saying Wiggins and the picks ain't going to get it. And and I don't think the Bucks front office is that stupid.
No. You know, first of all, salary wouldn't, the Warriors couldn't afford him. And
right.
You know what would have to happen, Jannelle? The Bucks would say, you're not getting Giannis without giving us Klay. That's just, why would the Bucks say otherwise, right? They first go, give me Steph Curry. That'd be their first one. And when the Warriors go, no. And then they go, all right, well, you're not getting Giannis unless you give us a package with Klay Thompson. I mean, the Bucks would be so dumb to not do that. So Warriors fans just need to hesitate and just calm down with this whole Giannis deal, because the amount of things that would have to happen, that probably things they wouldn't like, would have to happen to get him. Let's let that Giannis thing develop if it ever did.
If it ever did. And I don't really think that it will, because, Milwaukee's going to offer him the max, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And they even might go far in the playoffs. That might even make the finals. And there's no inclination that Giannis isn't satisfied anyway. Right. So,
and I've said this 1,000 times, even if Giannis says, I'm not signing the max deal this year, I want to wait till I'm a free agent. Unless he says, I need to be traded right now, I will not play for your team anymore, the Bucks should not trade him. You go into the next season with a Kawhi Leonard type situation like he had in Toronto. You say, even if we have you only for 1 more year, we're holding on to you and we're going to try to win a championship. Because, I mean, unless he made it absolutely clear he's leaving, you do everything in your power to keep that guy. So,
absolutely.
Milwaukee. Giannis is not going to be a Warrior.
Right.
Until, I just truly don't. There's so many different situations that would have to happen. It's fun to think about. It'd be incredible to watch. But the things that would have to happen for that to happen are just, it's a lot.
It's too much. But, realistically, I'm just really fascinated to see what they would actually do, with that pick and even with Wiggins. It may be a situation to where they would have to just roll with Wiggins and just develop him and to get him acclimated with the system. How do you feel about that?
I love it. I am a Wiggins believer. And I know it's sad, just from the little bit of time we watched him, just his ability to become and start adapting already on a very poor team in those 13, 15 games, whatever he played. You already could see what he was trying to do from the coaching staff. I think we have to calm down a little bit, because it's not like Wiggins hasn't had good stretches in his career. The guy's had some incredible moments in his career. He's had a month where he was one of the better players in the league. But then he regresses, or he falls back into old habits, and those are the issues. If he can really focus, and I think that's what he should be able to do in this environment with a Steph Curry, with Klay Thompson, with Draymond Green, with this coaching staff, in where he doesn't have to be the main guy. He could be the perfect player for this team. He could be better than Harrison Barnes was for the Warriors. He could be somebody that they need on this team. And I know everyone wants to trade Wiggins right now for some reason. They just because they see these big fish names. But the end of the day is just there is an incredible value to him if he does all the things the Warriors want. there's an if there, right? It's a hypothetical. We don't know if he's able to do it yet or if he can consistently do it. But unless they're doing something that dramatically makes their team better, they get Joel Embiid, whatever, I think the Warriors are better off with just having Wiggins on their team. So I'm a believer. I think he can really turn into something. I'm not saying, I mean, who is it the other day? I think it was Kenny the Jet saying that Wiggins could be an all-star next year. Again, let's pump the brakes. But I do think with that team, he can be really, really valuable. And so I'm a believer. Fact is, Jannelle, if it were up to me right now, I think this team tries to get the TPE and absorb a contract without giving away much. I think they see if they can trade the number 2 pick straight up for somebody good. And I think they keep Wiggins. And I think they try to use the mid-level exception. If they try to get, maybe they can try to steal a Marc Gasol or a Paul Millsap or something and just use those pieces and start getting some minimum contracts. I think right there you already have a stud team without having to leverage your entire future and some of your pieces for like a Bradley Beal or something.
I think that make much sense. And I remember being on Light Years, and I think it was Andy that asked me about Wiggins. My concern with Andrew Wiggins is not if he can do it, is can he do it consistently? And like you said, without that added pressure of being the number 1 option, there's no reason for him not to be acclimated in his role. And I've been seeing, vids of him. I mean, he's really trying to, at least offensively, just trying to lock in and, trying to be what the Warriors are wanting offensively. But his concern shouldn't even be with that. It should be with the defense.
Yeah.
That's where it all starts. It starts with defense. And that should be the foundation for the Warriors. But I really think that, keeping Wiggins and just trying to see what they could get with their exemptions would make the most sense. Because, again, even though Golden State is out of the hard cap, they still are strapped financially. So,
yeah. No, you're right about defensively. He has the length, he has the athleticism, he has the strength. He could be a very good defender, and we saw flashes of it at the end. It's just about consistency, as you're saying. It's buying in, and it doesn't seem like in Minnesota they ever really bought in defensively, and he didn't have the foundation to do so. When you're playing at Chase Center, well, I mean, if there's ever fans again, but if they're playing with Draymond and the crowd's roaring, oh, he's going to play defense, and you see Andrew Wiggins that if he can learn to play weak side defense and play off the ball and be a help defender or make sure that no one's back cutting behind him and know the space, he can be excellent. So yeah, there are different options that they can go with. They can also, when you're saying about the number 2 pick, they could trade it to trade back and go later in the draft, swap picks to get back and get a couple picks later. I love a couple picks that are not probably going to be taken until 5 to 10 or 10 to 15. And you can get some value in that way, maybe pick up a veteran while trading back. So there are multiple options. Bob Myers has unlimited resources, really. It's a lot of good resources to use right now. It's just about finding the right match and finding the right deal. And Jannelle, the craziest part is the financial ramifications of COVID. We do not know how this will affect teams. However, we are already hearing right now that there are certain teams that are willing to sell pieces because they just don't have the money financially to keep on paying big bills. And if that's so, the Warriors, who also don't want to take any more financial burdens on because they also are dealing with it, but they also are in this win now mode, and they do have a lot more resources than other teams. They can accept some of these contracts with that TPE. So there might be some bigger names out there that people just assume there's no way the Warriors could just get them for nothing or get them for 1 pick. Well, there might be some people out there.
Yeah, might be. And I haven't really thought about it like that. But just even getting to this moment with the NBA was a miracle in itself. You know, because I was in the mindset of them not even having a season because cases of COVID has been spiking in Florida, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, but now I'm cautiously optimistic. So far, so good.
Yeah.
But I haven't really thought about additional ramifications like that. And I was just thinking that these playoffs, I mean, and interseason games could help offset financially for the league, but not that much. Not that much.
Now, they're all the sports world, but if we're just talking to NBA here, they're going to deal with the financial ramifications of this for a while. It's not going to be pretty for a while, but there's a reason why the Warriors and the NBA are trying to push back the next season as far as they can until fans can start coming back into arenas, because there's a lot of money that gets lost without fans. There was an article that came out with Brian Windhorst where they estimated that the Warriors on an average night bring in $3 to $5 million per home game for fans being there. That is insane. And to think about how much gets lost if they don't have that in 41 games, you're talking hundreds of millions of dollars. So let's hope that fans can start coming back to arenas at some point. But I mean, it goes without saying, forget basketball for a second. We need to control this virus, and we need to help people because people are getting sick everywhere and people are dying. So that's obviously number one, which would then eventually help basketball as well, because people can safely get together in an arena and actually watch basketball.
Okay. Yeah, there is a reason why the NBA is trying to push it back. And also, if you're wrapping up the finals like in October or so and try to resume in December, that time frame is just really tight. It's just too tight. Do you have them starting in January or February?
I think it really depends on their predictions on vaccines and rapid testing. I know the Warriors and other teams are really, really, really attempting to put rapid testing in so that you can test fans as they are coming in to the arena. They're trying all these different measures. I would hesitate from saying February unless they knew for a fact that something was coming sooner. Because if you wait too long and you're still guessing that hypothetically fans can come in, and then you waste all that time knowing, but they weren't allowed to come in. They could divide the season up. They could have they could have them play for a month and then give them a few weeks off as they try to maybe change protocol. There's so many different options. I would probably say end of December. I mean, Christmas, by the way, is the second biggest night of the year for the NBA. Opening night is number one. Christmas is number two.
Yeah.
Would they love to get late December, like December 20th start, and then you get opening night and Christmas? Absolutely. That would be their ideal situation. They're going to try for that. I think if they can get that, fantastic. I think if not, they'll be looking to January, I'm assuming.
January. And if it's safe enough for fans to return, obviously 100% capacity is out. Would at least 45 to 50% capacity in these arenas, would that be enough to help revenue?
Help revenue? Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. But if only 50% can get in, if there are restrictions at all, I just don't see a situation where 50% of the arenas coming in, because obviously there's health concerns if they can't have a full house yet. And 50% is concerning for a spread of virus. So either way, I would probably
even if they're properly socially distancing. I mean, Chase is pretty big. The concern is the outside.
Right. 50% is tough though if you really think about it, because you're still, you forget the spacing in the seats, but it's walking in the concourses, it's getting into the arena, the bathrooms, they would have to have a designated everything. There's no answer right now, Jannelle. Maybe if they had rapid testing at that point, they would feel more comfortable having people a little more packed in because they think no one had it. It's hard to even comprehend what could happen, and the NBA truly has no idea. And people think that there may be some idea that they're just not saying right now. They don't. They have all options on the table. They're trying to get the technology to help with rapid testing. They're trying to see where vaccines are coming. It's going to be weird. It's going to be another weird year coming up. But in a great world where we have this disease starting to get under control and they can start getting some fans in. And also, by the way, the NBA will be watching the NFL very closely to see how the NFL performs, because the NFL, there's some stadiums that are trying to get some fans in the stands. And so they'll see how they do. And, they'll learn from each other. They'll learn from baseball. Think about baseball. I know they have a lot of issues, especially in the beginning of the season, but think about this. They're playing in their home ballparks and they're traveling. They're on airplanes, traveling between cities, etc. So, if no fans are in the stands, or there's no fans in the arena potentially, it looks like if they can eventually figure it out, the NBA can then send people different places as well. So it's a lot to think about.
What do you think about another bubble? Should it all be in Orlando or just like maybe 2 different spots?
You mean for next season?
Yeah, for next season, yes.
Yeah, they would. I would assume, the bubble, knock on wood, it's working right now. And that's just so great. Obviously, it works to an extent, but this is a very shortened season and this is playoffs, right?
Right.
To put 30 teams with their full personnel, it'd be a huge endeavor. Mm-hmm. Plus, think about how many months that would be for these people away from their families.
About 9 or 10.
Yeah, so or they have to bring their families in, which is that much more of an endeavor. So they would probably have to divide up bubbles and put them in different areas and then give time off between the bubbles within the season, because there's no way you can have somebody away from their family for 9 or 10 months. It's just, I don't know why players wouldn't opt out of that. That's just absurd. Think about kids and that's absurd. So could they go 1 month playing, leave, quarantine for a couple weeks with your families, and then go back to playing again? Potentially. But I would doubt that everyone would just go to Orlando bubble and just play for a full season, because that would I don't think there's any way to make that work.
No. Yeah, and you're right. You have to think about, this is condensed. Mm-hmm. This is condensed, and really when you think about it doesn't really make sense to have multiple bubbles.
I don't even know.
Maybe.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe you put one in Orlando and you put one in Vegas, I guess, even though Vegas, I don't think has their stuff under control. So I don't know. I'm not sure.
Well, that's about all for this interview. What do you have going on? Where can we catch your work other than NBC Sports Bay Area?
So obviously, yeah, I'll do a lot of my work on TV, but I've been writing a lot for the website, NBCSportsBay.com, and the My Teams app. And you've definitely, contributed on some of our Warriors Twitter roundtable, and I appreciate that as well. And I
appreciate you having me.
Yeah, of course.
That's an honor right there.
Yeah, no, it's been great to have your voice in there. And I do the Running Plays podcast with Kareth Burke. I've been doing that, the Warriors Sideline Reporter, and you can check out that podcast as well. And then also, I know it's a basketball podcast, but I also do baseball and football as well. So I'm doing some Giants stuff right now, and then the 49ers start soon, and I'm part of their pregame and postgame shows for that.
All right. It was a pleasure to have you on, Grant, and feel free to come back on anytime. And if you need anything Warriors related, you know where to find me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
No problem.